Today we are going to straight line quilt a quilt. Join me. This video is sponsored by Skillshare, but more about that later. So let's get started. First thing that I want to do is I want to take this thread, which is the thread that I'm going to use on the top, and I want it to be in the bobbin as well. So I have 3 bobbins here and I want to wind all 3. That will ensure that hopefully I don't run out of bobbin and then have to break thread and then move this actual thread to the back to load a bobbin. Now, I probably wouldn't have to do that because I actually have another spool of this thread, which I didn't realize until I brought it in here. So I must really like this yellow and blue and green color because I'm going to be using it again. I have recently been using pre-wound bobbins, so I don't necessarily remember how I'm supposed to do it this way. I can admit it, even though my husband says I never say when I'm wrong. I swear I do. Now let's do, I need to hold on to this because sometimes it'll just spin and spin, and I do not want it to do that. Okay, that didn't go well. Is that where it's supposed to be? Okay, let's try again. There. So evidently, my scissors should not be there. Don't hang your scissors on this back thing when you're trying to thread a bobbin because it doesn't work well. All right, so I'm just gonna pull this bobbin up, and that'll be my last bobbin in case I need it. And I'll wind the other 2 bobbins, hopefully with less trouble, and we'll get started. The quilt that I'm going to be quilting is one from our half square triangle challenge. And I believe it is approximately 72 by 72. And the way that I want to straight line quilt it is I want to go straight up and down. So instead of putting this quilt like this on the long arm where you would see the cardinals facing you, I want to put it sideways so that within one bit of quilting I have that straight line all in one shot. If I were to place it the other way, I would have to sew, roll it up, sew, roll it up. So I'm going to place it this way. Now, since it's pretty well square, it really doesn't matter how wide it is as compared to how long it is because it's square. The backing I'm going to use is flannel. And I believe I had 4 yards of this flannel. So what I did is I sewed along the selvage edges all the way down. So I folded it together, right sides together. Believe me, you would not believe how often I forgot that. And then I cut along that fold line. So here I have what I believe to be, let's see, 36 and 36 is 72, and 72 and 72. That'd be 100 and something, 140. I don't think that's quite right. My math. Okay, 40, oh, no, it's 80. Wow. Okay, from selvage to selvage is approximately 40 inches. Now this is flannel, so it might be a little more. So 40 and 40, so it's approximately 80 inches. Now, when I put this on my frame, I want this seam to lay straight across the bar. I don't want the seam to roll up on top of itself and cause a big bump in my backing. So I want this to be on the rail or on the frame wrong side up. And I also want to make sure that my calculations are correct. So let's make sure that this really is wide enough. All right, so I have laid my quilt top on the backing the way that I am going to lay it on the frame, and it looks like it is good. So here you can see there's a little left over now. I have a cutout here. I don't know what I cut out of that, but that's just a spot in the middle of the flannel. So I think we'll be okay. And the other side is fine as well. So the first thing I'll do, I'll take my quilt top off the flannel, and I am going to put batting. It needs to come up and over from the back. So I have a bar holding that back in place, and then I put a bar here. So now I'm going to pick up this bar, bring the fabric around, and I'm telling you, these things are strong. All right, that looks straight to me. So I'm gonna put this on the back. Now seems like a good time to do my piping. So I'll get it started at this end. I don't know who came up with this, but it's pretty ingenious. It's not overly complicated. It works. So, now this, I need to kind of hold this down while I'm doing the piping, so it doesn't get all scrunched up. There we go. Yep, looks good to me. Okay. This should be fine. So I can remove my bars. I'm gonna roll that, I'm gonna roll this up. So one way to tell if you're doing it right is the way the bar rolls. So the backing will go over the top of this bar in the front. So this time I'm putting my magnets on the front, and then I will use my tool to load the rest of the backing. All right, now what we need to do is we need to wrap the front back around. So we're going to unwrap everything we wrapped in the back around the front. This way we can make sure it's nice and straight. If there are any threads, we can get those. There's our seam. Now, I don't want to pull too much. Make sure this is straight. If I wanted to, if I thought any of these wrinkles were going to be a problem, I could use water and spray them out. Now, I don't want to go too far. All right, right there is where I'm going to stop. Okay, so now I have a nice flat backing surface. Now I need to add my batting, and my batting is going to float, as is my top. So here, my batting is laid down on my flannel backing. Now my batting is a little big, so I'm going to actually move it this way a little. And there we go. It being a little big is not going to be a problem. All right, now I need to put down my top. I also wanted to point out that there is a right side and a wrong side to batting. So see how this is puckery? And then if we look at this side, it's much smoother. This is the right side of the batting. This is the back side of the batting. And the back side of the batting you want on the backing of the quilt. So here is our quilt top. So I am hugging the left-hand side of the backing because I know there's not a cutout on this side. This side, there is that cutout, but I am far enough in that it shouldn't pose a problem. I really probably don't have to be this far away from that edge, but you know, just to be safe. And my cardinals are facing up and down along this rail. So now I need to adjust my rail because this rail was the height needed for a quilt that was all rolled up. So now that I've gotten everything adjusted correctly, I believe, I am going to set my channel lock. My channel lock is going to make my machine go straight. First thing I'm going to do is bring up my bobbin thread, and I will also be able to tell when I'm going along this seam whether or not my tension is good. So I don't want to be able to move my machine back and forth, but I do want to be able to move my machine from side to side. So I am turning on that channel lock, and what I'm going to do is start my stitching, and I should have a straight line across, and my quilt should be straight. If it's not straight across, I can adjust it at this point. Now I've got a little bit of a tension issue, so I'm going to tighten this top and see what happens. My tension looks a lot better on the top, but I also need to check the bottom. And it looks good to me. Okay. Now, need to make sure that this is lying down the way it should. I'm almost thinking that I'm not quite straight. That's the great thing about using your channel lock, is you can tell. And then once I'm sure, then I'll put the clamps on the front. Now each time I stop and start, my seam is not going to be the same because I still can push or pull on this machine, and I have a little bitty area where it can be moved so that it starts in a different position than it stopped. So I'm going to try and not be pushing or pulling, just gliding the machine along. Okay, if anything, this end was slightly lower than the rest, but if I look at where the seam is in the front, it's not bad. So I'm gonna call it good. I have a nice stitch. So now all I need to do is do the same thing that I did at the top, but I need to figure out how far I want my rows of stitching to be apart. Now, the batting, I think, plays a part, and I think it's usually 10 inches, 7 to 10 inches that you need stitches on this batting, and that's not going to be a problem. I'm not going to have my lines 7 to 10 inches apart. Maybe like 3 inches apart. Let's try that and see how it looks. And what I can do is I can get my ruler, and this is my ruler, his name is Slim. So here is the edge of my quilt. So now I can move forward however far I choose. Maybe it's just best to go forward the length of this particular ruler. So I'm gonna turn this on and try and move my hand. Now my channel lock is set where I moved my stitches, or where I stitched to this new place to start. And all I need to do is, once again, click my button for my stitch regulator and just sew. I don't know about you, and you may not do any quilting. You may send all of your quilting out. But while I am quilting, even if I'm quilting on my domestic machine or my long arm, I am not one to listen to a story on Audible or music. I like to just kind of enjoy the peace and quiet and solve all the world's problems, and maybe a couple of my own. I have a URL, aprilscraftroom.com, that I have purchased with the intent of building a website. And I tried building the website on the GoDaddy site, which is where I own the URL, or where my domain name lives. And it wasn't very intuitive or easy. And then I thought, you know what? I've got Skillshare. I am going to go out and look and see what type of web building classes they have. And then I was talking to my friend Di, and she said that she likes Squarespace, that it's intuitive, it has all the functionality that I need. And I thought, okay. So I went out to Skillshare. I did a search on Squarespace. I found multiple classes. I found 2 instructors that seemed to be giving me the information I need. One of them was giving more technical information, and I watched those courses. And then another one was giving more creative type information. So between those 2 classes on Squarespace, on Skillshare, I was able to build my website, post several blog posts, and now aprilscraftroom.com is up and running. These classes made building my website so much easier. I'm so glad that I found them. I am sure that there is something in your life that you're trying to get done, and I bet you there is a class on Skillshare that can help you do it. And even better yet, the first 500 people to click on the link will get a free month of Skillshare, the premium version. That way you can try it out, see if you like it, and then sign up if it's something that will work for you. Skillshare is for creatives, built by creatives, and I am sure there is a class, if not multiple classes, that you can find that will help make your life easier. So, click that link, try it today. I wanted to make sure that my camera could see what I was doing, and that caused a little bobble in my stitching. So, I'm gonna have to fix that, but not right now. And now I'm just going to go this way. One of the reasons that I like quilting my own quilts is because I don't have to worry about my quilter getting upset with me when I have some full space at the edge of my quilt. When I cut these half square triangles out using a 34-inch piece of fabric, I knew there was going to be some fullness. The way that you deal with fullness is twofold. The first thing that I'm going to try is I'm going to spray some water. Now, a lot of times water will cause your fabric to draw up, and it's not going to hurt anything because I've gotten down to the part of the quilt where I'll finish it in this next few hours. So I've done some spraying, and I'll have to do a slow-mo and see if you can really tell whether or not it helped. I think it did. I think it got rid of some of the fullness here. Then another thing that I can do is I can pin. You know how much I love pinning. However, in this particular circumstance, it is in my own best interest to pin. Now see here, I've got a little bit of fullness where my batting is, and I want to work that out. Okay, there we go. I got that worked out. So now what I'm going to do, and it went right back, while it's flat, I'm going to pin. Now I'm not going to run over these pins with my long arm. I'm just putting these in place. Is there another? Yeah, see there's another wrinkle here. And I just want to work it out. Okay. I want these pins. That's not a very good pin, I don't think. That one flower went in just perfectly. Yep. I think that pin had a tip that was dull. Okay, so here, see how much smoother it is? And just to be safe, what you can do when you have a whole lot of fullness is pin a lot until you can tell that what you're pinning is flattening out. And I should be able to come up this way, pull this pin out, bring my machine here, pull this pin out, and here I think the water has taken care of a lot of my fullness. Now back here, I have some fullness, I don't have any creases, and when I wash this, it will be gone. You'll never even know that it was there. All right, let's bring the long arm back over here. And I am going to drop my needle, bring it back up, get my bobbin thread. Okay, pull that off to the side. Now, Di said that she uses starch. And starch, you spray it on your fabric and then let it dry, and the starch just causes all your fabric to shrink enough that fullness is not an issue. So either one of those should work. So I'm going to move back a little. Okay, then I'm going to stop. I'm going to pull out this pin, and I use this magnetic tray from Harbor Freight. You can set this on the arm of your long arm. However, I did it earlier and it fell off and pins went everywhere, which is not supposed to be what happens. But you know, sometimes it just doesn't work the way you want. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. See how nice? Oops. Now I don't want that to come up. There we go. Nice and flat it is, whereas before it was all puffy. And I'm going to show you the other end where I didn't do this and how it's very wavy. I have it all nice and flat, and I didn't have to do anything except spray a little water. Let's go look at the other end. It's not as pretty down there. So here, I was able to get this down without any puckering or overlaps, but it's still quite full. I can still spray it with water, and let's see if it kind of draws up a little bit. Sometimes, I mean, it will just immediately draw up and you can tell that you've sprayed water. All right, we'll let that dry a little bit and work on our straight line quilting. I think water might actually work as well as the spray starch, because I can see, I can't see it in real time, like, but here, look how nice and smooth it is now. Let's just point towards the machine and finish getting this quilt quilted. Now let me show you exactly what I am locking in place. So if you come behind the machine, this is my channel lock. And when I lock this in place, the machine cannot move back and forth. I have another channel lock back there, and if you lock that in place, then the machine can't go back and forth along the rail. So leaving that back lock open allows me to go from left to right. This keeps my line straight. Now all I need to do is continue quilting my lines, and then I can remove this from the frame. So of course, I run out of bobbin. I'm almost to the end. So close. So I've put my needle down on top of the line almost perfectly, that where our thread broke. I've set my channel lock. I'm going to lift up because I want to pull up my bobbin thread, and I want to see this is not even with my line. So let me put the needle down. It's way off. All right, so now what I need to do, I'll lift my needle up. I've already got my bobbin thread. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to lift up my channel lock. And when I put when I engage the channel lock, the machine moves ever so slightly. And I am pushing, I don't know if you can see, I'm pushing on the frame. That's causing my problem. So I'm gonna try not to push on the frame and engage the channel lock. See, there's still this little, okay, hold on. Nope, I didn't have it all the way in place. Okay, now, let's try it again. I'm going to drop my needle. It is a little off, but that's okay. All right, so let's try. Okay, I still have my bobbin thread up, and it's in a good spot. I'm gonna drop. Okay, it looks like it's dead on. I've got my channel lock on. You know, that's the best that I can do, honestly. And then I'm gonna get this bobbin thread out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to turn on my machine. I'm gonna go back just a little, and then I'm gonna go forward. And it looks like I am dead on. Here is where I started. And then if you look, you can kind of see that where the holes were from what I picked out, this line just went right back in there. Alrighty, so there we go. This quilt is done with the quilting portion. My quilt top is done. I think it looks great with the straight line quilting. Let's hang it up on this fence. I like it. Now all I have to do is bind it and wash it, and I've got myself a quilt. I'm going to Ireland in 2025 in September. I would love it if you would come with me. I'll leave information in the description below this video so you can go check it out and see if you would like to join us. Have a great day, eat some chocolate, and be kind to everyone. Until next time. Why do you keep moving?
I thought moving, but it just moves too much.
in my back. Until what are you?
Because of the quilt, you were in front of the quilt, but you were already in the middle of saying it,